I had a bit of a problem while recording Moero Judo Warriors. I played the game, got all of the footage that I needed, went to stop the recording, and discovered that it hadn't started. It seems like I misclicked when starting it up. And so I had to do a second recording session for this one. And that recording session confirmed what I was thinking when I stopped. Moero Judo Warriors is a pretty bad judo game, but at least you can beat it in a couple of hours. Now this is not Jalico's first judo game. About 2 years before this, they published Big Challenge Judo Senshuken on the Famicom disk system. Moero Judo Warriors isn't officially a sequel. It shares a lot of the DNA. Your goal in Moero Judo Warriors is to defeat the best judo practitioners in 6 separate countries, then get a gold medal in the Olympics. You can do the countries in any order, and it really doesn't matter which order you choose. At a country, you'll take on 3 fighters before you take on the master. And naturally, each successive fighter is stronger than the previous one. The only difference between the countries is the background. So you'll fight the same progression over and over again. A judo bout is performed by moving in close to your opponent, and that puts you into a clinch. Then mash the A button as hard as you can while pushing in a direction. You and your opponent are pulling on each other, and what you're trying to do is get them off balance, which is represented by the chance bar. Chance is not built up linearly. You can steal it from your opponent, and your opponent can steal it from you. Once you fill up that bar, you'll start flashing, and that indicates that you might successfully perform a throw. You hit B and press in a direction to try to throw your opponent. You don't have to wait until chance is full to do this, but you're much more likely to successfully score a point if you do. If your opponent doesn't counter, then you throw them. If you throw them up into the air and they have plenty of power left, then they might instantly recover and the match will continue from there. You can also try to pin an opponent, and if you do that you have to mash the A button as hard as you can to keep them down. You don't really have a choice in what move you're performing here. There's multiple moves assigned to each direction on the pad, and it just seems to randomly pick what you'll do. The distance throw is associated with up, and pinning is associated with down, though you're probably going to want to avoid those given how overwhelming the other moves are. After you perform a throw, the judge will score you. You get an ippon, which wins the match instantly, wazari, which you have to score 2 of in order to complete a match, yuko, which can't end the match, but do count towards scoring if time runs out. These are 3 different qualities of moves, and in case you're wondering how do you ensure that you pull off the highest quality, you can't. The result of the throw is something that's random. You're more likely to pull off a strong throw if the opponent's weak, but you could score a full wazari right off the bat. The game also keeps track of keikoku, which are penalties, but nobody got a penalty while I was playing. If you win a match, then you get a point to assign in one of 3 stats: strength, technique, and stamina. Strength seems to be associated with how effective you are at moving people around, and how much damage you inflict to their stamina when you throw them. Stamina, of course, is your power bar, and technique is what you want, because technique is what builds the chance meter. It also affects how likely you are to score a wazari, which basically means a high technique is much more valuable than the other stats. What I wound up doing was pumping 5 points into technique before anything else, and then started working on the other stats. As soon as you have a bit of technique, you'll be able to just keep earning more points. If you defeat the champion of the region, then you get 2 points to spend. That's all there is to playing Moero Judo Warriors. Every single match is exactly the same. Well, except for the ones where the AI decides to mirror your controller input for some reason. But there's no penalties for going out of bounds, so all it does is delay the match for a while until the AI switches modes. When you lose, you start the region over again, or can go back and select another region. So that just means you fight the easy guys over and over again, building up more and more stat points. As soon as you can regularly win, the game is effectively over. Then it just becomes grinding out high stats. For everything else, win or lose, there's a high amount of randomness. The game can just decide, no, you can't do anything, and your opponent arbitrarily gains all of the chance meter that you built up. If you lose 3 times, it's game over, but it gives you a password, and entering that password just puts you right back where you were, and you can continue 3 times again. So it was completely unnecessary to kick players out of the game like that. Moero Judo Warriors is another one of those games that nobody remembers even in Japan. They don't even remember fighting against each other with this one. And I can't say I blame them. Every single match here is exactly the same, there's minimal strategy, and the action is a real snore. I was hoping for something along the lines of Karate Champ. Something that might not have lived up to the standards of the fighting games that were about to break out in the arcades, but still had its own strategic depth. Unfortunately, there's just nothing to Moero Judo Warriors.